Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to GNR Central. And we got some Guns N' Roses news for you today. So Slash gave an interview recently to Radio Chile. I want to thank the My GNR member Blackstar for picking up on this because I think he was the first one that brought it to everybody's attention. And Slash talked about a number of things, including the fact that Guns N' Roses are going to be doing a small tour this October. And they're also doing that one date they've confirmed at the Louder Than Life Festival in Kentucky. He also talked about the new Motley Crue biopic, The Dirt, and gave his synopsis or review of the movie. And here's what he had to say about the film. So he said, I thought the Motley Crue movie was great. Actually, I saw it a couple days ago, and it really took me back to the early days in the 80s, all the way through their career, because I just remember everything that sort of happened along the way. And then it gave me an insight, sort of the internal details that I wasn't really aware of. But I thought that it came out great. He went on to say, I wouldn't want to do a Guns N' Roses movie like that. I couldn't imagine trying to find somebody to play the different members of the band, as he laughed. It just doesn't even seem possible, but I think we have a lot of concert footage from the 90s in the can, like 24/7 footage from 1991 to 1994, to just every day on the road with Guns N' Roses, and it's been sitting in the vault for years. I would love for it to be edited at one point and put out, so we'll see if that ever happens. And he's probably pointing to the fact that it's Axl's decision, and it'll probably never see the light of day, and he's referring to the Perfect Crime documentary that was filmed during the tour. And he also was asked about the Leaving Neverland documentary about Michael Jackson that came out recently on HBO. And Slash said, I can't weigh in on that one. I haven't seen it. I mean, I was on the road in Europe, and there was some talk of what the movie revealed and so on, but I can't really make any kind of statement about it because I haven't seen it yet. And it's been really quiet since the initial release, so I'm not really sure. So I saw the Leaving Neverland documentary after hearing all about it in the press. And I found that it's about 4 hours long. It's 2 parts from what I recall. And I felt like it was an hour too long. They could have edited it down a lot. But I also felt like these were just guys telling stories and there was no evidence to back it up. And I thought overall it's definitely worth watching if you like Michael Jackson, but I felt like it was a little too long. And there was really just it was just 2 guys telling their stories and that was it. And there was unfortunately no evidence to really back up everything. But if you guys watched it, let me know your thoughts down below. Slash also talked about returning to the Conspirators after the large-scale tour with Guns N' Roses this past couple of years. Slash said, well, I mean, I was looking forward to going back in the studio at some point, with Miles and Todd and Frank and Brent, and I was just looking to get a window to do it. So when Guns N' Roses had a sizable break, I guess it was around December of 2017 or January or whatever, we had a break and I just got the guys together and we had some material that was partially written. And then I wrote some new stuff around Christmas and we just went to the studio and started jamming on it. It was a lot of fun and it was very spontaneous and we did it in my own little tiny studio in LA and we had a really good time. He was also asked about not really giving himself time to rest between the Guns N' Roses tour and the recording of the Conspirators record. He said, for me, I've had a little bit of a break over Christmas where, the tour was over and we didn't go into the studio till January. So I had 2 weeks for me, which is about as much of a break as I can take, he laughed. He was also asked about what music he's been listening to lately, and he said, I'm aware of new bands and I listen to new stuff whenever I can get a hold of it. I haven't got fixated on any new brand or any new band as of yet, but there's a bunch of really cool stuff out there. Mostly I've been listening to, for new music, the Alice in Chains record that came out, also the Prophets of Rage record, and the Queens of the Stone Age record. So those were the 3, and also the Foo Fighters record. There's also a guy, the group is sort of called, but it's one guy, it's one artist, and there's a lot of new records I've been listening to when I'm at home or in my car. The rest of the time I'm listening to a lot of blues stuff and, just classic stuff on the radio. When I'm on the road, I'm basically doing more writing than listening to anybody else. And of course, the most revealing part of the interview was what he plans to do for the rest of 2019. He said after South America, we'll go straight to Europe and do festivals there. And after Europe, we'll go back to the States and Canada and do our first Canadian tour, plus some US dates. And then that goes on till August. So he's referring to the Conspirators tour. He said, then after that, I'm going to hook up with Guns N' Roses. And Guns has a small tour in October. And then, there's been so much talk about a Guns N' Roses record, which we haven't really done anything with, he laughed. So we're going to sort of focus on that. And the Conspirators we'll have some time coming up, depending on what Guns is doing. But I've already started putting together material for the new Conspirators record. And, the way he's kind of phrased that, it makes me think that he's maybe not very hopeful that there'll be a new Guns record. And I think, as I said in my previous video, that if we don't hear any word of a Guns N' Roses record going into next year, I think it's game over for them ever writing any new material because I think they're in a really good spot right now. And if they don't do it now, then I don't know when they get to it. I think we'll just see continuing tours after tour from Guns N' Roses. And I mean, 2.5 years, they had great chemistry on the road recently. I think it would be a great time for them to go into the studio and record something. And I want to give a shout out to Brando from Appetite for Distortion. He's been having some great guests on his podcast, and he recently had Dave Mustaine on. And they talked a bit about Slash almost joining Megadeth and how things didn't work out as planned. So Brando asked him, "You're good friends with Slash. Is it true you once tried out for Megadeth because of the friendship and idolizing his work?" To which Dave responded, "Yes, we're most definitely friends. He didn't try out, but he had an invitation. He and David Ellefson had played together several times, so that was fun. And he liked playing with Dave, and he liked the idea of playing with me, and I thought it was a great idea too. And that's probably where we became such great friends, although we don't see each other a lot. And whenever we see each other, it's like, hey, what's up, man? And I think there's a deep, deep mutual respect for one another," he said. And we have some more Slash news. So it was announced this past week that Slash is going to be playing with the Conspirators at Lollapalooza in Chicago. So that date, Lollapalooza goes from August 1st to the 4th. It's being headlined by Ariana Grande, Childish Gambino, 21 Pilots, The Strokes. And, it's really disappointing to see, Lollapalooza used to be back in the day. You had some of this great rock and roll bands headlining, and a lot of these acts are pop. I'm kind of surprised the Strokes are one of the standout headliners that they've actually highlighted. Because if you look at where Slash is, he's fifth or sixth. He's on the fifth or sixth row on the poster of all the bands that are going to be playing the festival. This was an interesting tidbit of news that came from Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains. So he was doing an interview recently, and he said the title track off their latest album, Rainier Fog, was actually, at least Duff McKagan had some part in it. So I guess Jerry was demoing a bunch of stuff early on when they were writing the record, or before they got in the studio, and he needed somebody to play bass. So Duff came in and jammed with him, and they came up with the song that ended up on the record. Now, I don't think Duff got a writing credit for it, but it's kind of interesting to see Duff helping them write songs. Even back in the early 90s, Duff would sometimes join Alice in Chains on stage. So staying with the punk rock news, so Duff McKagan, it was announced, will be joining Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters, and Red Hot Chili Peppers members for a special concert. So Pearl Jam's Mike McCready has announced a brand new one-day event called Peak to Sky, set to take place on July 6th this year at the Big Sky Events Arena in Big Sky, Montana, where he lives part-time. So the new event will see McCready perform alongside Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, Duff McKagan of Guns N' Roses, Josh Klinghoffer of the Chili Peppers, and Taylor Hawkins of Foo Fighters, with additional performances by Brandi Carlile and more to be announced. As McCready has told publication Explore Big Sky, "I love playing music with Chad Smith, Duff McKagan, and Josh Klinghoffer. I'm stoked to play with Taylor Hawkins too. Asking Brandi Carlile to be part of this event was a no-brainer," he said. Now, as the Explore Big Sky report notes, Mike McCready's Peak to Sky blowout marks the most high-profile concert event to hit the scenic Montana town in 16 years. In 2003, Willie Nelson played in Big Sky, which was the biggest concert here to date, said Eric Ladd, the CEO of Outlaw Partners, the Big Sky Media, marketing and events company organizing the event, which also publishes Explore Big Sky. He said, "The energy we had in Big Sky was phenomenal, and ever since then I've wanted to bring that feeling back to our town." So according to the Explore Big Sky report, McCready came up for the idea for Peak to Sky with Ladd while riding a chairlift on a nearby lone mountain this winter, and those same mountains will serve as a picturesque backdrop for the new live music event. So it's an opportunity to put our amazing town and venue on a big stage, and an opportunity to put some of the best musicians in the world in front of a crowd from our community, Ladd said. Those guys have played in front of hundreds of thousands in single shows, and now they'll play in front of about 4,500 people. It'll be one of a kind experience. And so tickets for the event will go on sale on April 19th. If you guys want more information, you can go to peaktosky.com to find more details about the event and buy tickets after April 19th. Turning now to some Dizzy Reed news. So it turns out Dizzy Reed has signed a record deal with Golden Robot Records, which is based out of Australia. Now, it may seem like old news, but last year Dizzy signed a deal with the same record label to release a solo record, but this time he signed a deal to release a record under the band Hookers and Blow, which he plays with Quiet Riot guitarist Alex Grossi. So they've signed a global merchandise and recording deal with the record label, and the band's debut album is due out later this year. Now, I've heard through the grapevine it's going to be a covers album, but that hasn't been officially confirmed. But they did put out a statement saying, "We have been asked for years about putting out an actual recording since we started this thing in 2003, said Grossi. It never really made any sense until now, as we have actually found the perfect record label in Golden Robot Records that actually gets it," as he says, "as far as what Hookers and Blow is all about. We are currently in the studio tracking some of our favorite songs with a very talented and diverse cast of characters, as well as working on some very outside-the-box merchandise deals, he continues. We can't wait to share some of what we have planned for this thing. Now, for the musical side of things, Hookers and Blow has tapped producer, engineer Alistair James, who recently completed working with Joe Perry, Alice Cooper, and Johnny Depp on the latest Hollywood Vampires album. So in 2013, after almost a decade of touring, Hookers and Blow hosted back-to-back highly successful residencies at the world-famous Whiskey A Go-Go. And in 2018, the band celebrated its 15th anniversary by headlining its own 25-city holiday hangover tour, as well as supporting the Dead Daisies on their first headline trek of North America. Most recently, Hookers and Blow was a guest on the Netflix hit mockumentary comedy series Trailer Park Boys, their first annual Trailer Park Boys cruise as well. Now, over the course of the past 15 years, Hookers and Blow's members have included Todd Kearns of Slash's band, Chips Enough of the band Enough's Enough, Mike Dubke of Was, Scott Griffin of LA Guns, and Don Jamieson of VH1's That Metal Show, amongst others. So in addition to Reed and Grossi, Hookers and Blow's current lineup includes Johnny Kelly of Typo Negative and Danzig, Robbie Crane of Black Star Riders, and Nadja Reed, who is Dizzy's wife. That does it for today's news, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. And what did you think of today's news? Let me know in the comment section. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do. Take care.